Now let's talk about where do we go in Photoshop to change the image resolution or just even to see what the image resolution and image size is of our image. So I have an image here that I got from one of those stock websites I posted on Blackboard, and I'm going to go up to image size. And here it tells me up at the top what is the file size for this particular image. That is something different. That's like the megabytes. That's not what we're talking about when we're talking about resolution. It gives me my dimensions here in pixels. And so if I did this math, I believe this would be like 7 million. If I multiplied my 3,251 by 2,188, it's not giving me something like 7 million. And so that's how many pixels are in my image altogether. And I see that it's currently 45 inches by 30 inches with a resolution of 72. So as I said before, resolution of 72 is for an image that is set up for the web. If I want to print out my image, and for this class, I want all of your images to have the potential of being printed out. So we're always going to do things at print resolution. That would be 250. So we're going to do, to change our resolution from 72 to 250, this is called resizing. And then I'll talk about resampling, what you see down here. So to resize, you want to make sure resample is not checked. And I'm just simply going to change the resolution to 250. Now, as I do that, watch what happens to my width and height. They got smaller. And hopefully this makes sense. So let's think about it. We have 7 million pixels in this image. When I choose to display 72 of those of the 7 million per inch, it gives me a huge image. But then I say, I want it to be finer. I want it to have more detail. So I'm going to take from that original 7 million. I'm not asking Photoshop to add any for us, just the original 7 million that came with this image. And instead I want to put 250 of them per inch. So think back to that mosaic example I was saying before. If you're making a mosaic with tiles, that's like 72 pixels per inch. If you're making a mosaic with like the little heads of a pin, that's like 250 pixels per inch. And so it gets smaller because I'm just using the original amount of pixels that I had. So this image, if I wanted to print out, could be printed out at 13 by almost 9 inches. And if I'm happy with that, I say, okay. Let's just do it one more time. So I have an image here. I go up to image size. And this one actually, because it was shot with my DSLR, already comes at a resolution of 250. So there's nothing I have to do. I see that this can only print at 9 by 7. Now you're probably thinking, well, these sizes are editable. Why can't I just make it like 30 by 40? All right, well, let's look at what happens if we do that. Let's see, I'm going to take this image here. So if you have an image and you open it up and it's showing you at 100% here, like I'm viewing this at 100% and it's not that large, that one, or even this one, also at 100%, that means that these images are really only meant for the web. They're going to be too small if I try to print them out. So let's do the same thing with this image. Image size. If I change that resolution to 250, oh, this prints out at 1 inches by 3/4 of an inch. This would be tiny. All right, I'm going to put this back at 72. And this time, I'm going to turn on Resample. Because when I turn on Resample, it's not taking away or like readjusting my pixels, but Photoshop is now adding pixels for me. So I can say, oh, well, I want to make this 250. Ah, do you see the quality? Do you see what happens here? Sure, it's going to make it larger. In fact, I could just say, I'm going to print this out at 10 inches by 16 inches. It doesn't look very good anymore. Photoshop will allow you to add resolution. Photoshop will allow you to add inches and pixels, but that doesn't mean you should. It's going to look blurry. I'll click OK, and we can see what happens after it just renders through. Goes from a sharp looking image, although it was very tiny, to a much larger image. That is now very pixelated and blurry and looks bad. I'll make this a little smaller so you can see. And don't fool yourself into saying, oh, well, okay, now it looks good. It looks good because I'm only viewing it at 8%. If you try to print it out, go up to 100%, and that's the quality, what it's going to look like when you try to print it out. So resampling is something that we use, but we only resample to make a large image smaller. We're not going to resample to make a small image larger. So I'm going to just do an extreme example here to show you what resampling does, although hopefully you saw what it did with that bird image. I have an image here that has 4 pixels in it. 2 are black and 2 are white. I'm going to go up to image, image size, and I'm going to switch this to pixels to make it easier so you can see it's 2 by 2. And I'm going to add the pixels. So this is called resampling. When I add pixels, it's resampling. When resample's turned off, and I'm adjusting anything here, I'm resizing. All right, so let's see when I resampled by adding more pixels, that's what Photoshop does. So that's what it was doing in the bird image. It adds the pixels for me, but it has to do what's called interpolation. So it doesn't know what colors to add. So it takes like combinations, and you can see, so I had the black and the white, and so I get all these variations of gray, and I lose that sharpness. So we don't want to do that. So in terms of this class, I'm going to do another video where I'm going to show you exactly how I want you to set your images up for this class. So this is a little bit of background information. It is really important. I do want you to understand the difference between resizing and resampling and the 2 target image resolution numbers, 72 being for the web and 250 to 300 being for the print. And then in the next video, I'm going to show you how I want you to set things up so that you make sure you always have it at the right resolution for this class.